We need to recruit a specialist who isn't afraid to roll in the absolute mud because the game has officially changed. Sean Diddy Combs' legacy is in a total death spiral ever since 50 Cent leaked those prison tapes and sent the digital world into a state of pure anarchy. Everyone is frantic to see what else 50 has in the vault. And during his sit-down about the Netflix docuseries Sean Combs, The Reckoning, he made it terrifyingly clear that we've only seen the trailer. He's sitting on a mountain of unreleased footage and dark secrets he hasn't even touched yet. Everything is on the table. Exactly. 50 just teased he might dump even more Diddy tapes directly onto YouTube for the world to witness. But the most lethal blow to hit the timeline is the allegation that Diddy was caught red-handed trying to bully and manipulate a juror. Get this. Diddy was actually filming himself because he was so arrogant he thought he'd beat the case and wanted a victory documentary. He stiffed the cameraman, and now 50 has snatched all 140 hours of raw footage detailing every dirty tactic. There's a guy named Neil mentioned in court, a high-level Diddy loyalist who was allegedly coordinating the circus. Reports suggest he's on tape filming, harassing witnesses, leaking addresses, and dangling bribes like free lawyers, all the illegal nonsense that screams witness tampering and obstruction of justice. And of course, 50 of all people has the receipts. I'm hearing this could drag Diddy's legal team into the fire and face criminal charges. This mess is spiraling, and this documentary is merely the terrifying tip of the iceberg. The man in that clip dropped the name Neil, which immediately points toward Neil Dominique. Everything we recently analyzed from Diddy's former chef, Jordan, who was set to testify in the criminal trial, fits perfectly. Remember, she blasted Neil Dominique on Instagram, claiming he was the mole feeding Diddy info about her secret grand jury testimony. She's alleged that after she testified on April 2nd, 2024, Diddy's attorney, Aaron Dyer, texted her within 2 weeks to offer representation because he knew she'd been contacted. If you want to see the walls close in on the empire in real time, you need to stay locked in and subscribe right now. I reached out last week but wanted to touch base again. Word is the feds have been knocking on your door, and you might need a real lawyer in your corner. That source in the video was essentially confirming the nightmare. 50 Cent is sitting on visual proof of Diddy plotting to hunt down his targets. The most insane part, 50 isn't even playing shy about it anymore. After the rumors caught fire, he dropped the bomb that he owns 140 hours of footage. He even trolled the entire internet, posting, "Yes, I have the footage. LOL." That post sent everyone into a tailspin, but the rabbit hole goes way deeper. He finally opened up about why he's choosing to dismantle Diddy like this, and his reasoning is cold and calculated. A massive wave of witnesses who dodged every other documentary have finally stepped into the light for this project because they trust 50 and aren't terrified to speak up anymore. You're going to see faces in this series that were missing from every other doc because they knew 50 is the only heavy hitter who won't flinch. I think it's just my upbringing. I don't even process fear the way these people do. I've survived far more lethal situations than this. To me, this is just another project, and people can invent whatever motives they want to suit their narrative. But once they see the docuseries, they'll realize it was handled with class and stands as the absolute definitive version of this story. Look, he's a massive pillar of the culture. Or at least he clawed his way to a position where people felt they had to respect him. Any logical person picks their battles and might think, I gain nothing from this. It's not my business. But this series is about me gathering people with different scars and letting them finally drop the truth. It brings a level of clarity that people just haven't had before. I only felt comfortable dragging him because I've been sounding the alarm for 20 years. I've been on his neck since day one. I was like, what? No. A massive win for the project was securing raw footage from Diddy's final days before the feds finally moved in. Seeing that unedited tape for the first time was a total bombshell. According to 50, The footage exposed even more than he anticipated. It's truly wild. A real journalist would ask about the source, and a real journalist would protect them. But the bottom line is, I have the receipts. If you want to see the footage that Diddy is desperate to keep buried, you better hit that follow button right now before this gets taken down. They can try to point the finger at me, but I'm just the messenger. Honestly, he's probably going to appreciate the film. Once he sees the perspective, he'll realize it was handled fairly because he's going to see so many familiar faces, or he'll be so consumed by his own history with every person speaking out because he actually lived those moments. She is going to fully understand it too. You can interview her right after this, and I'll even facilitate the sit-down myself. I'll make sure it happens. I've been in constant communication with her, and even though she didn't make the final cut of the series, it was vital to hear her side to understand exactly how the chips fell. I even spoke to her husband separately to ensure the stories lined up. When you hear the same haunting details from multiple independent sources, that's when you know it's the gospel truth. He aged in dog years. One day his hair was jet black like mine. The next morning, he was a ghost. All I saw in those courtroom shots was a man looking like a cornered raccoon. And just like that, 50 Cent snatched the spotlight back with the only currency that matters: cold, hard receipts. He's making it clear that if you aren't documenting your rival's total collapse, you aren't even in the league. He also dropped the truth on why the industry's biggest stars have been silent for decades. For years, 50 was moving in silence, hoarding intel on Diddy, and waiting for the ultimate kill shot. Now, the trap has snapped. Diddy is rotting behind bars, reportedly losing his mind and screaming at his legal team, completely powerless to stop the documentary from going global. His lawyers already tried to kill it, calling the film illegal and begging Netflix to pull the plug, but the signal is already out. One massive bombshell missing from the documentary was the mysterious passing of Diddy's inner circle muscle, Anthony Wolf Jones. Gene Deal recently broke his silence on Diddy's alleged link to Wolf's death and slammed the series for leaving out the realest part of the story. He also corrected the record. The East Coast versus West Coast war didn't start with Biggie Smalls, despite what the history books claim. According to him, Wolf wasn't the trigger man, and the streets know the truth. Wolf, the man who literally breathed for Puff security, made it clear he wasn't moving an inch unless his crew was fully protected. He warned everyone, including Puff himself. Then Kirk Burrows calls me up and says, "Yo, Gene, I got tickets for you and Wolf to LA. I told him, all right, cool. I go down and grab the tickets for the West Coast trip. I have Wolf's ticket right in my hand. I call him up and say, "Yo, Wolf, I got your flight to LA. Wolf didn't even hesitate. "I ain't going." I asked him what the hell he meant, and he told me, "Yo, Gene, I'm not going to tell you how to get your bag, but I'm telling you this. I told Puff and the team that if they weren't taking 2 tour buses of my people out there with us, I'm staying put." Wolf was the general of every single bad boy function. I had my own contract, but Wolf was the overseer of everything touching Puff's life. Understand, Wolf told Puff and Kirk directly, if you don't do this right, nobody should be going at all. If you want the truth that the mainstream docs are too scared to print, you need to hit that subscribe button right now before the lawyers come for us too. Wolf was the supreme commander of every operation involving Puff's security. I had my own separate deal with Puff, while Paul Offord handled the daily grind through Green Gate Security, managing the mansions, the fleet of cars, and basic logistics. He ran the bad boy offices and the clothing line operations, but Wolf was the ultimate authority over anything involving Puff personally. Understand, Wolf gave the order to Puff and Kirk Burrows. If you aren't moving with the proper force, nobody should be moving at all. In a tragic twist, Wolf lost his life while shielding Puff and balancing those heavy security burdens. Gene Deal has been vocal that this pivotal chapter, specifically Wolf's deep ties to the Black Mafia family, was suspiciously scrubbed from the documentary. Gene's point is razor sharp. Wolf's death wasn't some random tragedy or a footnote. It was a direct consequence of industry chess moves and decisions made by the elite. It deserved the spotlight, not a cover-up. Meanwhile, Diddy and his inner circle are reportedly cooking up a staggering $1 billion defamation lawsuit, potentially one of the largest in history, as a counterstrike against the doc. But 50 Cent already called the bluff, pointing out that a lawsuit forces Diddy to prove every single claim is false, which could open a Pandora's box of even worse evidence. Financially, the walls are closing in. Even with his massive fortune, the combination of relentless legal fees, appeals, and elite attorney retainers is a hemorrhage. Without a fresh stream of income, the loss of his billionaire lifestyle might become the real-life sentence. The scandals don't stop at the bank account, though. Diddy allegedly committed the ultimate sin by recording private strategy sessions with his lead attorney, Mark Garagos, the man who has saved him from the brink before. In the legal world, this is a nuclear betrayal because privilege is built entirely on absolute trust. By letting a third-party videographer record those sessions, Diddy effectively set his own legal protection on fire. Mark Garagos, who co-hosts Two Angry Men with me, has stood by Diddy for years, and his daughter is even on the Agnifilo defense team. During our podcast in LA this past weekend, I tried to get the truth on how Mark Agnifilo actually feels about this. Mark played it close to the vest, but the tension was undeniable. Diddy knew the cameras were rolling on Mark, but he never gave Mark the heads up. Does Mark feel stabbed in the back? I haven't asked him directly, but I'll tell you this. If it were me, I'd be beyond livid. I was more than a little shaken back when I found out a client was recording me without my knowledge. There was a period where I was meeting people under freeway bridges because of the PTSD it caused. As a lawyer, the oath to protect a client's secrets is sacred and inviolable. I haven't gotten the full quote from Mark yet, but if I were in his shoes, I would be absolutely losing my mind. If you want to see how this legal house of cards finally falls, you better stay tuned and subscribe before the next bombshell drops. I haven't spoken to Mark, but if I were him, I would be absolutely losing my mind. It is beyond belief. Diddy committed two unforgivable sins here. First, he betrayed Mark Garagos, who, let's be real, is likely the only reason he isn't already serving a life sentence. Second, by letting a third-party videographer stand there and soak up every word, he effectively nuked his legal privilege. Without that confidentiality, there is no shield. Fortunately for him, the bomb didn't detonate during the trial because nobody caught on until the end, but it doesn't change how cold-blooded it was to sell out his own counsel for a camera angle. It is the height of narcissism. Since that massive blunder, even more disturbing details have leaked. The documentary features footage of Diddy in public stopping for photos with fans, mostly men, where he later joked about needing a bath and sanitizer after 150 hugs just to feel clean again. In another disturbing clip, Diddy talks about hiring an editor to weaponize footage of Dawn Richard, the former Donny Kane singer, who hit him with a lawsuit alleging sexual assault and battery. While the tapes try to show her in a positive light, critics are calling it a disgusting attempt to gaslight the public. Dawn Richard will continue her testimony this Monday, but the series saves the biggest bombshell for the audio tapes. A 2008 proffer from Keefe D., the man currently facing trial for the 1996 murder of Tupac Shakur. In this legal tell-all, Davis alleges that Diddy personally put a $1 million bounty on Tupac's head. The documentary also dives into Diddy's origins, showing a kid raised on street-funded privilege. After his father's death, His mother stayed in the mix with the heavy hitters. Rappers like Tim Dog described those house parties as a chaotic blend of pimps, hustlers, and athletes, a world where the music never stopped and the rules didn't apply. If you want to see how the king of parties became the target of the century, stay locked in and hit that subscribe button right now. Pimps, hustlers, and athletes. The house was a revolving door for the elite and the underworld alike. In that kind of environment, there was always a dealer in the corner and enough liquor to drown the city. They even built a stage in the middle of the living room, forcing the kids to perform like tiny trophies. This was the blueprint. It's like he was genetically engineered to throw the very parties that would eventually become his downfall, from the legendary white parties to those overseas freak-offs, where the details get progressively darker. Sean Diddy Combs didn't just host parties. He lived in a permanent, never-ending circus. His rise was a total whirlwind, going from a child draped in expensive chinchilla to a street-level promoter interning for Andre Harrell before he even had a real paycheck. It was like he was in a desperate race to outrun his youth. Andre Harrell even recalled how he bullied his way into his home, spinning a story about a blowout fight with his mother, Janice, and claiming he had nowhere else to go. Next thing you know, he's living under Andre's roof. Now, let's be real, I don't believe they were just roommates. I don't believe this was some innocent mentor-student dynamic. Based on the rumors and the details that have been whispered in the industry for years, there was a much deeper, more complex connection between Andre and Puffy. It's just another chapter in a long-running pattern of Diddy embedding himself in risky, legally messy, and emotionally explosive situations while somehow managing to sidestep the fallout. Until now, if you want to see how the curtain finally falls on the industry's biggest puppet master, you better hit that subscribe button and stay locked in.